So, the situation is, I took a nap, woke up, thought it was 3 o'clock because my computer was frozen. And I'm like, it's dark though. Um, so, then I'm looking on Twitter, and there's stuff in the corner. I'm like, fine, whatever. I come on YouTube, and I check my subscription notifications, and one of the Sky News or something says Novak Djokovic is going to be deported from Australia. And I'm like, excuse me? I knew this whole controversy with him with the what do you call it? He doesn't want to get the vaccine, and it was, is he going to be able to play Australia or not? Then they said it's been going back and forth for a couple weeks, look like. Then they were like, he's getting some kind of free privilege or something. He's getting some kind of free pass to go. And I'm like, okay, but now apparently he gets to Australia, and they won't let him in the country, like at the airport, at customs, or whatever you want to call it, because he doesn't have vaccine proof. And it's just like, oh my God. The thing is, I mean, yeah, I'm a tennis fan. I've been a tennis fan. I think Federer is the GOAT. I know I'm not supposed to think that anymore. I always thought it was between him and Rafa. In the couple of years I haven't been able to watch that much, Noah has just racked up enough so that they're all tied with the number of titles. If Grand Slam titles, if he had won the Golden Slam, I would have, you know, given up and said, okay, I accept it. But he didn't. But I always liked him. My mom hated him. And this is the worst part. Because when my mom was in the hospital, and, you know, because we didn't have cable at home, they have cable in the hospital, I was like, oh, let's watch the U.S. Open. And she couldn't stand Novak Djokovic. He was playing Stan Wawrinka. And it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I went to leave, and she was still watching that. That's the last I saw my mom. She hated Novak Djokovic. She was watching. I'm like, if he was the last thing that she was watching when she died, it's my fault. And she hated his guts. Because I don't know what happened to her, but then, you know, or what time. But yeah, so there's a whole bunch of Novak Djokovic history in my life. But I like him enough. I never thought the horrible things about him that other people thought. I just still preferred, you know, Federer. So, over the years, I get aggravated with his fans who just, you can't say you still like Federer, you still think he's the GOAT, without them trying to attack you. Because, like, just let me have my opinion. Okay? So, I don't really talk about him that much. I don't really have the opportunity to watch tennis anymore. But, you know, I know he's out there trying to do a thing. And I know that he was, you know, against the vaccine, which, you know, okay. So now, he's getting deported. I think that's crazy. Why didn't you say, well, no, he can't come in this country? Why'd they let him go all the way there? You know what I mean? I understand that it was, you know, Tennis Australia or whatever that gave him the pass to play. But if he didn't believe he could get in, if he still thought, well, I'm not going to get past customs, if they didn't make him think he'd be able to get into the country in order to play, then why would he have got on the plane? You know what I mean? It's just crazy to me. And I'm just like, everything's going crazy because of this, the surge in the Omicron cases. And I've already explained that I don't understand why, because it's just the number of cases. I don't believe things should be shutting down again. I don't believe things should be happening like this, but they are. And I think it's total BS. I've said that before. Now here's some other BS I was talking about before. I just had made a video earlier today about Jon Stewart saying that J.K. Rowling was basically, he didn't say J.K. Rowling is anti-Semitic, but he said that he pointed to the thing. He pointed to the goblins. He was explaining how they're obviously, you know, based on some old bad propaganda sketches or something of Jewish people going way back that I'd never seen before. But it was pretty clear what they were supposed to be. I'm out of focus again. Um, and what I read on Variety, to me, was him definitely saying, accusing her of shit without saying J.K. Rowling is anti-Semitic. He didn't say that sentence. But let me reread what he said. Let me go find it. If it gets choppy, that's why, because, as I said, my laptop can't handle more than one thing. The headline on Variety is Jon Stewart slams J.K. Rowling's anti-Semitic goblins in Harry Potter franchise. The part that I don't understand how he could say he didn't say is the way they've quoted him here. I read it before. They've got a long quote, blah, 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 blah. And this is still part of his quote, and you're like, no, that's a caricature of a Jew from an anti-Semitic piece of literature. J.K. Rowling was like, can we get these guys to run our bank? It's a wizarding world. We can ride dragons, you can have a pet owl, but who should run the bank? Jews. But what if the teeth were sharper? He says her name. He's saying that was her idea to make them look like that. He's saying in the sentence before that it's a caricature of a Jew from an anti-Semitic piece of literature. But now he's saying he didn't say that about her. He didn't call her anti-Semitic. I'm sorry, what? I don't understand. How is he rolling it back now? Because what are the ways they interpret that quote? J.K. Rowling was like, can we get these guys to run our bank? And he's talking about the caricature. I don't know. I don't know how he's going to try to word salad that and say he wasn't saying it, but it doesn't make any sense to me. He's saying, I do not think J.K. Rowling is anti-Semitic. I did not accuse her of being anti-Semitic. Then what is it? What is he saying? I don't get that. Now, here's some more crazy nonsense and cancellations. The Grammys have been postponed indefinitely. Why the hell are the Grammys postponed? I mean, these are things that went on last year. The Golden Globes is nonsense. They ruined the Golden Globes. That makes me sad. That makes me very fucking sad because, look, as a kid, I went to the movies here and there. I would watch movies on TV and stuff like that. Then in my high school years, I started watching everything. Like, they would have James Bond marathons on like TNT or TBS or one of them. Then when I eventually ended up getting Turner Classic Movies, I would watch all those old movies. So I became a film buff in that way, not really going to the theater all the time. But we went once in a while if it was a big movie or if it was somebody we like Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, or Nicolas Cage, whoever, you know what I mean? We would go to see those people and stuff like that. Then, when I was in college, I went to New York University. I did not go for film. I went to study languages. But I was in there, and when you're in there, you just end up discussing movies all the time anyway. And you know, that was around the time while I was still in NYU, Pulp Fiction came out. So, you know, it just, that time, being that time at that place, you ended up being a film buff whether you meant to or not. So, also around that time, you know, I guess when I was in high school, I started watching the Oscars because everybody did. But then I started paying attention. The year I really paid attention was the year The Usual Suspects came out because I loved that movie. And I know it got nominated for screenplay and Kevin Spacey and stuff like that. And I wanted Benicio nominated. I was like the only person who knew Benicio del Toro's name at the time. Everybody else was like, oh, that guy that mumbles. But you know what I mean? So it was that year that I started really paying attention. And then after that, I was really paying attention to the Oscar race and what was getting nominated and which performances I thought were great that should be nominated. And people who won. And I was like, they weren't that hot. They just gave it to them because they're old. You know. So I really became a film buff. And there was a point in time, once I came home in the 2000s there, where I had all the channels, and there was a point where I would specifically order more channels, so I like Independent Film Channel and stuff like that, so I could see the Independent Spirit Awards And you know what I mean? And I could see the BAFTA awards, so I could get BBC America, stuff like that, because I want to see the BAFTA awards live. And it was like, I was just so interested. It was like my whole thing. So all these award shows meant something to me for no good reason. I mean, I'm just sitting here, you know, a loser with no life. But it was still the thing I was interested in most. So there was the time the writer's strike knocked out the Golden Globes, and it was stupid because they just read the winners. And then last year, I even forgot what happened. There was this diversity shit that I'm so tired of, because they're just a group of people. But it was a fun award show to watch. Instead of the Oscars are the hoity-toity ones, but the Golden Globes was fun to watch. The tables, Jack Nicholson, the way everything was every year. I remember Dick Clark used to be the host, and he used to stand there and just, you know, talk about, oh, you know, Kevin Costner's talking to Halle Berry or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that actually happened, but, you know. So it was just a fun show to watch, as, you know, like it's our window in. And they can't even have presenters. They can't even have guests. They're not having anything. Now the Grammys said they're canceling because they couldn't get presenters because of the virus or whatever. And I'm just like, what? All these people in these industries, they're doing concerts. They've been doing shows for a long time. They're in crowded stadiums with tens of thousands of fans indoors, all breathing and, you know, spitting all over each other, and they've been contaminating each other for a long time now. And suddenly this push to start shutting things down again is happening. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? I mean, I absolutely 1,000% believe that any shutting down right now, all this stuff where they're starting to panic again, and we got to not have, elective surgeries. All this stuff that they did the first time, which made sense the first time, now makes no sense to me. You know, there was a point when the vaccines first started coming out where they said once they got like 70% of the population vaccinated, then everything would be fine, right? And we would all be back to normal. Didn't we pass that a long time ago? Weren't they going back to normal? Now, they're just, I don't understand why things are shutting down again. I don't understand the sudden panic over this surge in cases. The surge in cases is also because of, it's everybody's getting it faster. It's a faster moving virus or whatever, this variant or whatever. But from all the reporting, it seems like it's not as severe. Maybe children are getting it more. I don't know. But based on the reporting, it doesn't seem to be worse than Delta. And everything didn't start shutting down again because of Delta. Maybe they should have. Because that one was supposed to be dangerous and they didn't know what it was like. But they didn't care when that one came. Because I remember watching BBC News and it coming over and, you know, them starting to say, oh, we're getting cases in England. Uh-oh. And I'm thinking, well, it's going to come here. And they thought it might be worse. And nothing shut down. But now this Omicron, everything's shutting down. And I don't for 1 second believe that this is because they really think it's worse. And I don't believe that. Just all of a sudden, the Grammys, it's all this nonsense. No, should not be kept out of Australia. Because, I mean, who is he gonna, a famous person gets on a plane, is in first class, gets off the plane, is around his entourage, goes to his fancy schmancy hotel room, deals with very minimum people, does their thing. People aren't all over them. They're not, hanging around the crowds. Last year, weren't they all isolated to their rooms? Weren't they practicing hitting it off the wall and stuff like that? It's hysteria. This time it's hysteria to me. It's manufactured hysteria, and any actual person, any real person who is really scared Not the government, not anybody, you know, who's trying to get people to get vaccinated. Nobody who's coming through the television. Nobody who's trying to get more people vaccinated. Just a regular person who is vaccinated, maybe even boosted, okay? If they're scared, I don't understand why. What are they scared of? Because I just saw, like, on the news, they were interviewing somebody, like a person on the street, about, because she was going to get, I don't know if she was getting tested, I don't know if she was getting a booster shot, I don't know what the hell she was doing. But she was like, well, I just want to come and, you know, so I can make sure I'm safe. I've said it from the beginning. There's no making sure you're safe. There's no such thing as safety in this world. You can wrap yourself in bubble wrap, get in a car, be double boosted, you know, put on your seatbelt, have airbags, and, you know, a deer can jump out. You hit the deer. Your car goes flying and lands into the water. And then you can't swim because you're wrapped in bubble wrap. And you drowned, even though you were double boosted and you wore your seatbelt and you were a careful driver and nobody was drinking. You don't know when you're going to die. The world is not a safe place. Making sure you're safe. What makes sure you're safe? If you get a booster shot, that doesn't guarantee your safety from getting a virus. That doesn't guarantee your safety. It doesn't guarantee your safety. Getting a test doesn't guarantee your safety, because all that does is tell you if you have it or not. So I don't know what she was doing that she thought was going to help her make sure that she's safe. This whole false idea, and I really believe it's after 9/11, and I believe most of the people that fall for this crap are kids who were being raised after 9/11 because their parents, because of 9/11 and everything else, try to make safe spaces. That's why people need safe spaces for their identity politics and all that stuff, because you've got like a generation of people now who think that the world is supposed to make sure they feel safe. But in reality, anybody at any point in history trying to make people feel safe, oh, the world's a safe place, is just lying to their face. Nobody is safe from this virus. Nobody is safe from anything. And getting a test or getting a booster shot or getting totally vaccinated and getting another booster shot later on down the line, it doesn't make anybody safe. So I'm just like, there's all this news, and I just, like, every time I take a nap, this kind of crap happens, where I wake up and there's like a bunch of stuff going on. Jon Stewart is really thinking that he somehow can convince people he didn't say that J.K. Rowling was anti-Semitic. What did he say? The video now serves as a much clearer, more detailed clarification. According to Stewart, his initial comments were part of a light-hearted conversation about how some tropes are so embedded in society that they are basically invisible, even in a considered process like movie making. With his clarification, it's now clear that Stewart's initial rant about the depiction of Gringotts goblins in Harry Potter was aimed at revealing how deeply ingrained these anti-Semitic stereotypes are in the minds of audiences at large, rather than accusing any individual like Rowling of anti-Semitism. No, I knew that's what he meant. I knew he was saying that they made these people, that people don't even pay attention to that kind of thing anymore, that the goblins were clearly looking like Jewish bankers. And his thing was, he thought the people in the audience should be like, oh my god. Okay, but he said her name. He said she did that. He said here's these goblins, you know, here's this old picture from, how did you say it in the last thing? He said, here's this, I just had it. Anyway, point is, I need to watch the video now. But he's saying, he was saying that here's this picture from, 1903, this anti-Semitic picture. Can we get them to be our bankers? So he's saying, in the old quote, he's saying J.K. Rowling said, can we get them to be our bankers? Meaning them being this caricatures depicted in this old photo from 1903. There's no way around that. But somehow that's not calling her anti-Semitic. That's not saying J.K. Rowling is anti-Semitic. It's still saying what he said. And now he's going to flip out and be like, Newsweek et al. May eat my ass. Okay, Jon Stewart, we'll see how that works out for you. But the fact is, you said shit. A bunch of people who hate her was like, yay, Jon Stewart's on our side. He hates that turf. And now he's rolling it back. But he did say it. He didn't say it in those words. However, many news outlets still ran with headlines stating Stewart accuses Rowling of anti-Semitism, which wasn't an entirely unreasonable takeaway from his rant, but certainly not one the comedian intended for listeners to come away with. It's basically, you drew a perfectly normal conclusion from what I said, but that's not what I wanted you to think I said, even though that's what I said. So stop thinking it. Whatever. It's terrible. It's terrible. I do not think J.K. Rowling is anti-Semitic. You can say that if you really want to. I did not accuse her of being anti-Semitic. Okay, he didn't actually accuse her of being anti-Semitic. I do not think that the Harry Potter movies are anti-Semitic. There's no way he wasn't saying that the Harry Potter movies were anti-Semitic. There's no way. Because he's saying those goblins. He could now shift it and say, well, I wasn't talking about her. Or, you know what I mean? Like, well, she just wrote the books. I wasn't talking about her. I'm talking about the people who made the movie. He could say that. But there's no way he didn't say that those goblins being looking Jewish and being bankers wasn't some kind of bad stereotype. And he used the word anti-Semitic in the sentence before. So, I mean, he can try to clean it up now because he didn't really mean to say that she's anti-Semitic, because he doesn't really think she's anti-Semitic, but he did say those things. Whatever, man. The whole world's gone bananas. I told you this year was fucked up already. And the Grammys are postponed. That just makes no sense to me. These people, like I said, they've been doing concerts, they've been doing everything else. I don't know. I'm going to end up, maybe I'll end up reacting in a non live stream to the nightly news, because I'm sure that's going to have a bunch of this stuff in there. But I don't know. Or maybe I'll come back again. But I need a break because I got a headache now.